Okay, well, let's see what the date is. It's February 7 today?
6.
6.
Almost 7.
February 6, 2012, or in Dianetics it would be February 6th. After Dianetics, 63. It's been 63 years since 1950, which is when the book Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health, came forth and became a tremendous bestseller in the United States of America, and take these off, possibly elsewhere too, which is really amazing because here right after the nightmare of World War II, which I mentioned before, just think of, let's take one country like Russia. When the German armies under the Nazi leadership invaded Russia in about 1941, thank you. I have my own Russian coach here. Excuse me if I become hysterical, because this is a lot of fun. Anyway, they invaded Russia. Hitler made the same mistake, or even a bigger mistake than Napoleon. He thought he could travel thousands of miles destroying Russian people and conquering, and then get to Moscow or Stalingrad and take the country. But he didn't really realize what he was getting into. But on the way in and the way out, the Nazis killed 22 million Russian people. Just kind of get the feeling of 22 million people being destroyed ruthlessly by the conquering forces of the Wehrmacht, the German army, with Hitler. Go, go, go. They're Untermenschen, they're not really people. They're Slavs. Destroy them, don't worry, you don't have to have any conscience if you kill Russians, because they aren't really quite human. Only us Germans, us Aryans, are really human. They don't feel, they're just animals. So, can you imagine being part of a country where such insanity rolls over your people? And 22 million, it's almost unbelievable, isn't it? I forget why I mentioned this, but it's just that in 1950, you could still hear the screams of the dying and the wounded and the suffering all over Europe and wherever World War II was taking place. The blood had barely dried. Every winter in Russia, thousands or even hundreds of thousands of Russian and German corpses, when the snows and the ices melted, there they were. It was like a scene of such slaughter and such inhumanity. So anyway, Ron comes up with this book, 1950, Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. And believe me, it really was modern, because all that had come up until 1950, not all, but mostly, was based on ideas that really thought, well, a human being is just an animal, so if you wrap them in cold sheets, if you electrically shock them, if you give them metrazole and make them have convulsions, if you cut the front lobes of their brain, if you lock them away in bedlam, that's all you can do for the insane, and so forth. It was like, from the Middle Ages, the theory of what to do with people who were having mental and emotional problems. So Ron, in those days, was a tremendous liberal humanitarian, because he wanted to make a new style for people who have emotional or mental or physical disturbances, rather than cutting and injecting and locking them away forever and torturing them and doing everything you could possibly think of, which never worked. Never worked. So he came up with an idea. It was not perfect, but it was so much better than what was going on. You know, back then, if a psychiatrist and a couple of family members could point to you and say, he's nuts, put him away, and the legal system would do it. Can't do that anymore. There's a thing called civil rights. But anyway, Ron paved the way, whether he meant to or not, for a notion of social justice, civil rights, and the idea that people, underneath their worst behavior, were really okay. They weren't really evil, blah, 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 blah. Even if they acted in a way that seemed to be evil. He was like, yeah, that's the way they're acting, but if you get the crap, the stuff that's making them behave that way, and handle it, they'll behave differently. It's not that we won't have both sides of the equation. Life consists of all the opposites. So some people elect to play Mr. Good and some Mrs. Bad and so forth. That's okay too. But anyway, Dianetics, 1950. It's 63 years. And here I am, roughly age 82. I'll be 82 in March. My birthday and Mr. Hubbard's are 1 week apart, but that doesn't mean we're closely connected. No, but he's a Piscean, and one of the attributes, if you like astrology, of Pisces, there are people who are going both ways at once. And if there was ever anybody that was going both ways at once, it was L. Ron Hubbard. So, and he was Mr. Good and Mr. Bad and everything. But the important thing was, as I've said before and I'll say it again, I don't care if whoever invented the can opener is a child molester, a serial killer, or worse. When I use the can opener, I don't care about the person that invented it. I want to open the can. I don't care about the inventor. You can hang him, lock him up, destroy him if he's a very evil person. But the invention of the can opener, if you've ever had some cans and you were hungry and you wanted to cook or eat and you can't open them, well, you could use a knife. But a can opener, such a simple idea. It's of course gone from like that to where they have these electric things. You put the can in, you turn away, and moments later the can is open and there's a voice saying, your can is open. You can now eat whatever's in me. Anyway, do you see what I mean? So I don't care if Albert Einstein, when he wasn't discovering relativity theory and opening up the whole field of physics that had been dominated by Sir Isaac Newton for 200 or 300 years, Einstein opened up the universe in ways that have turned out to be dangerous but wonderful. Whatever. I don't care what Einstein did in his spare time. I don't care if he picked his nose and ate it. I don't care what he did in the bathroom. I don't care if he masturbated. I don't care if he was mean to his wife and children. What I do care about is that what he did for physics was very much like what L. Ron Hubbard did for the so-called mental things like psychiatry and psychoanalysis, psychology and all that. He brought them almost single-handedly. He forced them into the 20th century. Truly. No more B.F. Skinner, which is we're all conditioned animals, we have no freedom of choice. No. Yet. He said, so Hubbard opened this up. Now, Hubbard's personal life, his problems when he was aging, his marriage, his family, his children, I don't give a darn about those things. I'm sorry if he became a beast. I'm sorry if he forced children, into the chain locker on bread and water. I'm sorry if he literally told different people, I want that person destroyed. Do whatever you have to do to destroy them. I'm sure he did all those things. However, his can opener works. So you can say anything you want to me about L. Ron Hubbard. I know his worst. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I know some of the terrible, terrible things about him, especially as time went by. But my L. Ron Hubbard is a pretty neat humanitarian, and that's the only one I'm interested in. And more than even that, I'm only interested in his can opener. Because personally, the can opener worked for me, and I found that I can use the can opener, excuse the metaphor, we don't really use can openers, that's for psychiatry. That's where you cut your brain, the frontal lobes off. No, I'm just using that as an analogy or metaphor. So I can make the can opener work for others. I can teach others how to help others, and because it's helpful stuff and can be shown, proven, not because I say so, not because you can do a lot to help another person, really. I'm not saying you can do something that will make it easy for them to go like that and make New York vanish or put it back again. I don't care about all that. That's parascientology anyway. All the things that are not easily demonstratable, according to Hubbard himself, are called parascientology. Those are then maybe. If it happens, it happens. Okay, if it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's not provable. Past lives are not provable. The existence of a thetan is not provable, believe it or not. It can be true for me, but I can't prove that you're a thetan or any of these other things. So it doesn't matter. Those are all things that you can experiment with a can opener and see, well, yeah, I seem to think I am something called a thetan. Doesn't matter. That's your truth, it's okay. But the things that really do work, like things like affinity, reality, and communication, the tone scale of emotions, confronting, there's just tons of easy to use, very, very helpful things. And no matter what you think of L. Ron Hubbard and his can openers, not all of them, but many of them really do work. And I've been asked over and over again, why do you keep saying what a wonderful... I'm not saying he's a wonderful guy. I'm saying L. Ron Hubbard, 1950, maybe up through 1955 or 6, I thought was a real peach. But put all that aside, I love his ideas. Okay? If he gives ideas that sound crazy, irrational, and destructive and unhelpful, I don't think of that as Dianetics or Scientology. I think of that as his problem, his case, his mishigas, his insanity. And it doesn't matter, because I don't use that. I use the things that, okay, I like, the can opener. Sorry, that's called a rant. And a rant is when you get up on a soapbox and you keep trying to make a point. Because I've said this before, and I'll probably keep saying it again. But anyway, I think we'll take a short break here, because I think I've made the case that when I talk about Dianetics and Scientology, I want to put a date. I'm talking about Dianetics, I'm talking about 1950 and 1951. Get it? When I'm talking about L. Ron Hubbard, I'm talking about L. Ron Hubbard, 1949, 1950, 2, 3, 4, up about through 1956. That must be clear, because people, organizations, ideas change. But I'm talking about Dianetics, Scientology, in the early days And that's what I want you to know, so that you don't think I'm talking about all the different L. Ron Hubbards that appeared between 1950 and 1985 or 6, whenever his human body died. Is it clear? So I'm talking about Hubbard 1. Then there's 2, 3, 4, many beyond that. But, okay? Thank you so much for listening to this, and we'll take a break here. Thank you.